Fourth grade was Miss Mamie Pettigen, and she had gone to high school with my mother. I did not want to go to school that year because the other students had told me how mean she was. So I told my mother I wasn't going to school, and she said, "You have to go to school. There's no doubt about it. You will go to school." So she said, "She's a lovely person. I'd like for you to meet her." Well, I'd seen enough in the school that I thought she was too strict. I didn't want to be in that woman's room. And so I went and talked with her and to try to soothe my fears of her. But my best friend, my playmate, was about 2 years older than I. And June had really filled my brain with probably falsehoods because it ended up that I loved Miss Pettigen at the end of the year.
Fourth grade, I had Marie Taylor, and Marie was an artist. And we did a lot of drawing in the fourth grade. And she would put up on the board a big piece of, I guess it was like meat wrapping, but it was drawing paper. And she would tape it to the board, and sometime while we were reading or working or whatever, she would start drawing and coloring. And I was fascinated with that. And that year for Christmas, that was my #1 gift, is I wanted a big roll of that paper, and I got it.
Miss Christine had a niece that played the piano well, and the whole school participated in a production, an operetta. And each class had a little dance that they did. They dressed in costumes of flowers, and each class had a little dance, and they sang a song. And Shelby Floyd and I were the heralds, and we announced each group that came out.
There was a springtime play, and they were each a flower or something of that sort. I was impressed with their costumes, which were homemade, I'm sure.
Well, I remember that Bailey Wilkins and Miss Roller, Virginia Roller, who became Virginia Burks, that's right. I thought she was so pretty, and I thought he was so handsome, and I was so glad. I think that's why I joined the 4-H. I was just impressed with the leaders. And I remember someone, maybe it was Bailey Wilkins, taught us how to add a plug onto the electric wire. Well, I was just fascinated with that knowledge. I really thought I was an electrician.
Another thing I participated in was spelling bees. The upper grades could participate in their classrooms and then spell against each other and then spell against the school. Then we'd go to a county bee and then to Lynchburg. This was sponsored by the Lynchburg newspaper. And so all the surrounding areas would spell against each other. And the last one that won that went to Washington, spelled in the National Bee. I was a runner-up. But Carter Glass Jr. came out, and we had an assembly and presented me with a $50 check for winning this county, and I thought I was rich.
Wow.
One thing that we had was chapel. I can't remember if it was every week, or every other week, or once a month, but various preachers would come in, we'd sing, a woman in the community would come in and play the piano, and that was one thing that I remember was chapel. That was special. We got out of class.
And every year they had a festival, and every class would select a king and queen, and the class that made the most money, that king or queen would be crowned at this festival. And I remember one year my brother, I think my father must have sent him some money in for him to have been elected king. But when he was in the 2nd grade, he was king of Monroe School.
I remember the old projectors we had, those 16mm projectors. You had to feed the reel in very carefully and get that thing going. And when I saw a flower opening up, I can remember that just thrilled me to death. Now you just see it on television anytime.
What were your play areas like at Monroe School?
There was a ball field out behind it, and as an area level, I don't remember it having basketball goals there, but you could have put basketball. It was very sparse.
What were the play areas like at the school?
It was a red dirt playground.
The original Monroe School, not the first one, but the brick building, the one that opened built in 35 and opened in 36. They had, I believe it was Pendleton Clark, drew up a plan for that playground, and he had a basketball court, he had a softball court, he had a baseball court, and every one of the activities there was a space for it on that acreage at Monroe School.
I think the girls would sort of gather under the big tree, and we would do our little girly, maybe we played house, something like that. Often there was a baseball game, and I can remember playing baseball, so I don't think that was anything that was just the boys did.
And we didn't really have much guided recreation. We would just mill around or find a ball or play hopscotch or, amuse ourselves. Once in a while, a teacher who was younger would play ball with us.
Discipline was so different because the teachers knew your parents, and if they wanted to talk about a student and their behavior or whatever was happening in school, there was that link or possibility that they could converse about what was going on in school.